Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Roadmaster base plate for towed vehicles on a 2016 Chevrolet Suburban. Now this is what our base plate looks like when it's installed, and the great part about this one is it replaces your factory tow hook, so there's really no trimming or just minor trimming necessary to get this in place. So it retains a nice OEM look, and since you are taking off your tow hooks, you still have your safety chain loop here that can act as a tow hook when normally driving your vehicle. Now overall, I really like the clean look of the base plate, and it's a relatively easy installation. Now one thing you will have to keep in mind is mounting up the rest of your flat tow components, including this one has an air brake system for its RV, your diode wiring, as well as your braking system. Mounting those up can get a little bit tricky, but I used our license plate bracket here and got a little bit creative for a nice clean look, and all of our components are mounted easily accessible, so hooking up shouldn't be a problem. Now something that I really like is the removable arms on our base plate. So right now we have a nice clean look, and whenever we are ready to flat tow our vehicle, it's pretty easy to take our removable arms, drop these in place, just twist them quarter way, and it locks in place. So to get these in place, just line this up, take our pins, put this in place here, and when you pass it through, you're going to see that you have the hole here where you just align that. Our spring-loaded pin just drops in, snaps down, and we have one arm attached. Don't forget your safety chain, and this is a really nice design. It sticks out just enough to get easy clearance to be able to get our chain on there, but also it doesn't stick out too far, making it unsightly. Now with the rest of our flat tow components all hooked up, we're ready to get our vehicle in tow mode and then hit the road. Now there's 5 main components when flat towing a vehicle that are going to be required, and the first one is going to be on the vehicle side, and that's going to be your base plate. And the base plate is going to attach to the frame of the vehicle, or at least a structural support to be able to have our arms, which will make the connection point to our tow bar. And our tow bar is going to be the second component, and that's going to be the connection point between the vehicle and the hitch on the RV. Now we also have our safety chain loops with our safety cables here, so in case of an accidental disconnect, we still have an attachment point to hold this all together. Now if that does fail, we do have a breakaway switch here for our braking system that will pull this pin and bring the vehicle to a stop. Now our braking system is also going to slow and stop the vehicle as we apply the brakes on the RV. We also have our diode wiring, and that's going to transmit our light signals from the RV via the 7-pole to our 6-pole, and that way you have lighting functions of running lights, brake lights, as well as our turn signals, keeping you safe and legal.
Start our installation. We're going to start on the top here. We're going to have 12 plastic fasteners that run across the top of this piece here. We're going to take a trim panel tool. You can use a screwdriver. We're going to pry up the center. And then we're going to pull out the base. We're going to repeat that process for the remaining fasteners. Once we get those off, we're going to remove this panel and set it aside. We're going to take a 10mm socket. We're going to have 6 bolts across the top of our grill here that we need to remove. Then on each side, on the inside of your fender, or inside of your fascia in front of your tire, we're going to have 6 bolts we're going to remove. Actually, we're going to have 5, but we're going to remove a 6th one as well to give us a little extra room. These are going to be T15 Torx bits. And on each side, we're going to go underneath. We're going to remove 3 10mm head bolts, and then 1 plastic fastener if you have yours in place. It looks like this fascia has been taken off before, but your plastic fastener would be right here. Next thing you would do is take 10mm socket. You're going to remove a bolt from here and here. Next, we need to remove our skid plate. We're going to have 4 10mm head bolts, and then 2, these are supposed to be 16mm head bolts up here. And we'll remove remove our skid plate and we'll set it aside. So next we're going to pull back our fender liner. We're going to come right to the inside, right up here where our front fascia meets our fender. We're going to have a 7mm head bolt here. And back up on top, passenger side, you need to remove this plug or disconnect it. With being underneath and out in the weather, this little plastic red tab can be a little bit hard to push up, so take a little screwdriver or something to unlock that. We're going to push down on this black tab. Sometimes these will get stuck because they get dirt and stuff in them. Push down on this black tab, and sometimes if you push together first, push down on the tab and then pull apart, they come apart pretty easy. But you're just going to have to work with it to get that disconnected.
Take a flathead screwdriver. You're going to see a plastic tab that comes inside from your fascia. And you go up inside there and release that. And it's a little bit easier if you pull it out on your fascia when you're doing that. Push up and that'll release that tab so we can pull our fascia off.
So we're going to pull up on the top of our grill to unsnap it. And we're going to come to the very outside where our front fascia meets our fender, where we took that 7mm bolt out and the 3 on the inside. And we're going to start pulling out on it. So if you didn't quite get the tabs pushed up enough, if you got your grill loose and you look down in there, that white tab there, the black tab on the top is what's locking it in place. You can always pull this out a little bit and reach down there with your screwdriver and pop that black tab up as you're kind of pulling out on it. And we'll slowly slide our fascia off, make sure we've got everything disconnected, and then we'll set it off to the side somewhere safe. We need to remove our tow hooks. 18mm socket and wrench, or 2 18mm sockets. We're going to remove the nut and bolt here in the front. And then on the outside here, we'll have an 18mm bolt. Then we're going to take a 15mm socket. We're going to have 3 bolts on each side for our bumper beam. We're going to temporarily remove this to get our base plate put in place, and then we'll reinstall this later on. On the back side, you can see this little tab. It's not going to allow us to really get it off because of this panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull it all the way over to one side, just kind of lift on it. You can take a screwdriver or something. We're not actually bending this, we're just lifting it. We get it over top of the front of our frame here. We'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. Once we get one side off, we'll just slide it off and we'll set this down for now. You want to make sure there's a notch on the front of it. This arm may be inserted in here. Just pull this pin, twist it, and pull it out. This notch needs to be facing towards the center of the vehicle. We're going to slide it right in place of where our tow hooks were. So we're going to take this large bolt, put a lock washer on, a plate. We're going to come up down from the bottom here. There's a hole. We're going to thread this in there, and we're just going to hand tighten it for now. We're going to take one of these bolts through this front hole, all the way through to the other side, and we're going to put a nut on, and we're just going to hand tighten that. And the reason we're doing this is because this hole doesn't go all the way through to the other side. We're going to use our base plate in this hole as a guide to make sure our hole comes out the other side centered. Now we're going to take a 1/2 inch drill bit, and we'll drill through the other side. Pull this bolt back off temporarily. We're going to grab our second bolt. We're going to have a plate like this. We're going to pass our bolts through. Make sure that curved side is facing up. And we're going to pass them through our base plate from the inside going out. We're going to put a little bit of red Loctite on each one. It doesn't come with your kit. You can find some here at etrailer. You're going to take your safety chain bracket. You'll notice there's an angle. We want this angle facing out towards the outside. We're going to slide it over top of our bolt. It's going to be on the outside of the frame rail. Lock washer on each bolt. And then we'll put on a nut. Then we're going to remove our lower one. Put some Loctite on it and then reinstall it. (15/16) socket. I'm going to tighten and torque the lower one first. That way our base plate is sitting flat. You'll find the torque specifications in the instructions. This is 3/4 inch socket that we're using on these top ones. And again, 15/16 for the lower, bigger one. Once you get both sides on, tighten and torque down, you can go ahead and reinstall your bumper beam. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to test fit our fascia. Where our tow hooks were, we may require a little bit more trimming here around our base plate in order to get it on, but it's going to be minimal. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to put it on, see if we can do it without trimming. If we have to trim, we can pull it off and retrim it. It's a good idea at this point also, once you have your trimming out and you know it's going to fit, to install any other components like your braking system, breakaway switch, your diode wiring, anything like that. While the fascia is off, it's going to be a lot easier to run all your wires up here to the front. On our fascia, where our tow hooks were coming out, there's little tabs there. We're just going to kind of bend those down, because what we're going to do is we're going to cut these off. But if we bend them down, it almost, you can see where it's white across there. It'll cut a little bit easier. And I'm just going to use a knife. You can use a utility knife. Now with the next set of hands, we'll see if we can't get this to fit in place. So as you can see, we're missing about the top half of our base plate, so we're going to have to trim this out just a little bit up here in order to get it to slide on. And then to make it a little bit easier, I might trim off just a little bit on the outside here, because we did kind of have to stretch it to get it around our safety chain loops. So I'm going to take a rotary tool, I'm going to cut out where I marked it. We're going to kind of do a half circle up here, and then I'm going to go down a little bit and then come up along this side. With our trimming, we're able to get our fascia put back on, at least slid over it fairly easy. So again, as I mentioned before, once you get it trimmed out, before you completely reinstall it, go ahead and install any of your additional components, braking system, breakaway switch, wiring, anything like that, while it's loose and off.
Thank you, Shane. And that was a look and installation of the Roadmaster base plate on a 2016 Chevrolet Suburban.